Hi, welcome to the National Critics' Choice Online News, and I'm Robin Steinberg. And today we have a wonderful author with us, and she's none other than Miss Cherie Calbom, from the United States. And she has written almost more than 20 books, um, on actually 21 books, including the bestseller Juicing for Life, with 2 million books sold in the United States and published around the world in 23 countries. Miss Cherie, welcome to my show,
Thank you,
and
Robin.
we are quite impressed with your resume. And in fact, we are here to celebrate your latest release, the Juice Ladies Big Book of Juices and Green Smoothies. Now, my question for you is, first of all, is that my fans would like to know is what inspired you to start this revolution in juices, and why do people call you the juice lady?
Well, years ago, I was really ill. I had chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. So bad, finally, that I couldn't work. I had to quit my job and move back home with my father and stepmother. And I was just desperate to find something that would help my body heal. Um, I was given no hope of getting well by the medical profession. They did not know what to do for me, and they still don't know what to do about chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. So I went on my own journey looking for hope and help, and I found juicing. And I started my program with a 5-day juice fast. On day 5, my body eliminated a tumor about the size of a golf ball,
Mhm.
and that really got my attention. And I thought, wow, I'm on the right track for something. And I thought I was going to feel immediately better, but I didn't. There were days where I was detoxing, and I didn't know that. And I stuck with it. I kept juicing, and then after the 5 days, started adding in whole foods, like lots of vegetables and some lean protein, no sugars, no wheat, no dairy, no corn, no soy, no coffee, no alcohol, no sports drinks, no soft drinks. All of that stuff had to go. So it was just juice and very clean organic food. And one day, 3 months after I got started, I woke up and thought somebody gave me a new body in the middle of the night. I had been juicing faithfully, about a quart at least of juice, veggie juice a day, and this good diet, and my body totally healed. I became passionate about this. But I thought this was the best cure on earth. So, and then I thought, well, maybe I can just go back to my old way of eating, which I was a junk food, fast food lover. I used to go to fast food restaurants. I used to eat a lot of what I call today junk food, packaged food. And I started introducing that slowly back into my diet, and I started getting those old symptoms back, and it scared me a lot. So I thought, this has got to be a way of life for me. It's been my way of life ever since. It's what's kept me healthy and strong, and why I've written all the books I have, because juicing really does work. It can change your life. It's changed the lives of thousands of people that have read my books and contacted me.
I think it's millions.
Yeah,
uh,
millions, yes.
and now, what kind of benefits does it arrive, and the difference between eating and drinking?
Well, there's nothing to compare with drinking the vegetable juices. And that's because they're so broken down into a very absorbable form that your body can easily take in, easily absorb. And when we have solid food, our body has to work harder at breaking that down, and it is not the same. Not I'm for eating whole, solid foods, organic foods, but even more is the juice therapy. And it really is therapy when you have the fresh, live, raw juices. It really begins to change your body, change your health. And that is what's made such a difference in my life and in the lives of, like you said, millions of people all over the world have found the healing power of juicing. And here's the thing, too, when you do a juice fast, when you avoid eating solid foods for a few days, some people have gone much longer than just a few days, it takes your body into a whole new realm of healing, because we spend a lot of our day digesting food. and it takes a lot of energy for our body. Body has to work very hard to digest the food. But when we have that juice and we are not eating solid food, then the body can turn its attention to healing, repair, restoration of our cells and tissues and organs, and that's when we see amazing healing.
And speak about healing, how much must one drink it or even eat it, and why?
I say if you're going to do a juice fast, you need at least 1 to 2 quarts of juice a day. Some people drink up to a gallon of veggie juice a day, but you need a lot, and not just a little glass. If you're on a maintenance program and you're already really healthy and you feel great, you maybe don't need as much, maybe 1, 2, or 3 glasses a day. But if you're ill, if you're trying to recover from something, you're going to need more. And especially if you're doing a juice fast, juice feast, some people like to call it, and then you need more juice. So that's where my book comes in. With over 400 recipes, my new book, people get bored and they say they want some new recipes and things that taste really good. So you'll love the new book of Big Book of Juices and Green Smoothies. There's over 400 recipes to choose from.
Yes, and speaking about recipes, you have a recipe that talks about arthritis, and it has a certain healing component to it. Now, how did you arrive creating this recipe, and what is your criteria in creating your recipes, and
Yeah.
how do you find proof in these recipes?
I started out years ago when I became the juice lady, and I was working for the Juice Man Juicer Company, and they asked me to write a book. I started doing my research. I was also completing my master's degree in Whole Foods Nutrition from Bastyr University. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to look for studies on juice. There weren't very many. There still aren't a lot. There are a few, but not a lot of studies on juice per se. So what I did was to find what nutrients would help those conditions. And then I looked up the veggies that were highest in those nutrients. And I put together juice recipes, and I found that they really were working for people.
Mhm.
And isn't that better than taking a pill any day? To have fresh, live juice that tastes delicious and your body can absorb it so much better. So that's how I arrived at many of these. But there are a few studies on juice helping certain conditions. And then I found some old remedies as well. Not proven scientific studies, but things that people had used as remedies for years and years. And I believe in those. That's how we've arrived at some studies, was that people had used these remedies for a long time.
Now you spoke about remedies. What's the difference between fermentation recipes, and are you against fermentation, and also those that is freshly made, and how long must one take it and how soon? Because according to studies, some doctors even suggest that you should take your fresh juice as soon as possible, like almost within the first 2 hours or 8 hours, some would suggest. What is your recommendation?
Yes, well, how fast should you drink the juice? And of course, the faster that you drink it after you make it, the more nutrients you're going to get. But many of us are busy, and it's a real world we live in. And many of us are, I call it, in the fast lane of life. We're off to work and we have families and lots of activities, so you have to do what works for you. When I was so sick, it wasn't that I had a lot to do, it was that I didn't have much energy. So I had to juice early in the afternoon when I had enough energy to stand up and make the juice. And I would then store it in the refrigerator for evening and the next morning. And that worked for me. And that's how I got well. And so I always say to people, do what works for you. I have very busy moms who have to make all the juice for the family on a weekend, and then they freeze some in like individual containers for the week. I have other people that have to be at work very early in the morning, so they make juice the night before and store it in the fridge and take it to work, or drink it before work, or take some also in a thermos to work. So I always say make it work for you. You don't have to be perfect. Of course, we know the ideal is drinking it right after you've made it, but do what you can. It's still the healthiest thing on earth that I know of that you can drink is a glass of juice you've made yourself.
And speaking about making a good glass of juice, I have a reader who asks this question. That is, why not buy juices that is been pre-packed from the supermarkets? They're less expensive, and if not, why would you not recommend it? Although it may contain some preservatives that will last for about 2 weeks to a month.
Yes.
What is your recommendation, and why do you don't encourage people to buy fruit juices that is been pre-packed?
Prepacked juices by law, at least I know by law in the US, and I'm sure it's by law now all over the world, have to be pasteurized. Pasteurization means they've applied heat high enough to kill off all the good stuff. So your enzymes, your vitamins, your biophotons, those are the light rays of energy that the plant absorbs from the sun, those are gone. Those are killed off, and that's what we want. That's why we're drinking juice. So if you get something in a container that's already pre-packed for you, it's pretty much, I call it a dead food. You've got sugar and maybe some minerals and water. And it's not going to do hardly anything for you. It's not going to heal your body or make you feel better or give you energy, prevent colds and flus and diseases because the nutrients aren't there. So to me, it's a waste. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. Why even do it?
Mhm.
And there are bottled juices, that you can get in the refrigerated section of stores, at least here in the US. I don't know if you have those in your country. They now, at least in the US, I know, have to pasteurize those, even though they're refrigerated and they're in the refrigerated section of stores. People think they're getting really good carrot juice, for example, or a green mix. They're not. They're not getting a good juice. You've either got to go to a juice bar where they make it fresh for you on the spot, or make it yourself at home in order to get the nutrients to really do something good for your body.
Now, is there any research that suggests that these uh, processed juices are harmful?
No, I know of no study. Well, there was a study, yes, a number of years ago in the 90s where they started looking at juice and they said it was harmful. They said because bottled juice, not fresh juice, bottled juice, and because it was too high in sugar. And they were looking at fruit juices. And I would agree with that. They are too high in sugar. And that's because they've killed off the good nutrients and you've left with mainly sugar water. So I'm not a big proponent, first of all, of fruit juice. It is too high in sugar. You eat the fruit and juice your vegetables, and do it fresh. Get fresh, and then you've really got something good for your body.
Great. Now let's move on to the other issues about wrinkles. I know that you have written a topic on wrinkles and how to prevent it and maintain it. That's what most of my readers would like to know. And what is the history behind it? Especially one of my readers sending me a question that said, how did the Egyptians manage to have good beauty, especially one that is mentioned in the Bible named Sarah, who is actually Abraham's wife. When she was old as about in her 80s, she still has great complexion in Egypt. Now, what is the recipe behind it, and how can people can then use it? What's your recommendation? Because you look no beyond what I expect. In fact, I would dare say that you don't look old actually.
Thank you. Well, I can tell you why juice works and why this diet works. And looking at Sarah, I can only surmise because I doubt that she juiced out in the desert, but I'm sure she ate live whole foods, and it makes a very big difference in how you look. Here's what's happening. Have been, well, really only one study I know of that was ever reported. Dr. Alex Carroll, he won a Nobel Prize in the early 1900s on the immortality of the cell, he called it. And he looked at feeding the cell superior nutrition and cleansing it. And what we know from his research and looking at chicken cells and chicken hearts was what he used. He found that they stayed young. The cells stayed supple and vibrant way beyond the life of a chicken, which isn't that many years, but maybe 8 to 10 years. And these were around some into the double digits, like 20 years. And he found that cleansing those cells, cleansing those organs, and feeding them really superior nutrition worked. Well, that's what the juice program is all about. That's what my program is all about. Mm-hmm. I'm big on detoxification, big on juicing, and in that you've got everything you need to keep cells young and vibrant. I was only told about a study in Poland, I believe it was in the 50s, by a professor that never had her study published. But she had chicken cells in petri dishes that she had kept young and supple, which would equate to skin being young and supple and beautiful. And she had kept them around for many, many years. She went on vacation one time and left some students in charge of cleansing these cells and feeding them. And they didn't do their job right. And she came back to cells that were hardened and looked like they were dying. Well, that's what wrinkles are. Cells that are getting hardened and linking together and scarring. That's what's causing wrinkles in people's faces. So she was so disappointed and about ready to throw out this long experiment when she thought, maybe I'll just give it one last shot and cleanse these cells every hour, not every day, every hour, and feed them super nutrition every hour. And she brought them back to plump, young-looking cells with outer coatings that looked smooth and young and alive again. Well, that's what happens with our faces. That's what everybody's longing for. Cells that are supple, young, alive, not linked up, not hardened, not scarring, but young and beautiful and alive. And if we cleanse our cells, if we cleanse our body, if we feed it super nutrition, that's going to happen. It's going to show up in our faces. It's going to show up in our health. Our whole body is going to look younger and more alive, and we're going to have that life that everybody wants, more energy today and more life, and you're going to get that.
So it's going to be, the answer is going to be live foods that's going to keep wrinkles away.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Now, speaking about live foods, I have another question from one of our readers. It's about losing weight and gain muscles. Is it true that it is all about what and when we eat and drink and exercise that matters? And what is the human routine that should be recommended? That's quite a hard question. What is your take on this? Is it true that in losing weight and gain muscles is all about when and what we eat and drink and exercise?
It is. It is. It's so much about what we're eating and drinking and our exercise. And in order to go exercise, so many people, especially many women who have contacted me, said they didn't even have the extra energy to exercise. They come home from work, they're tired, the weekends they're busy, they're tired, and then they got on the juice program and got more energy because of those biophotons, those light rates of energy in raw food feed the mitochondria of our cells. Those are little energy units that produce ATP, our energy fuel. Well, then they felt like exercising, so they could stop off at the gym on the way home. And I have noticed many people telling me this, bodybuilders, men who are saying, I built these great big muscles with vegetable juice, carrot juice, and other vegetables. Not that you just drink juice. Most people could never just drink juice, except maybe if you're doing a juice fast or you're going for major weight loss. So you need good, clean proteins. You need lots of vegetable juice. You need a really clean, good diet. You don't need and shouldn't be having sports drinks. Lots of people are working out and drinking a sports drink that's full of sugar and chemicals. This is not going to build muscle. This is not going to give you energy to work out. What is going to build muscle is feeding your muscles not only the amino acids they need, but the other nutrients the vitamins and minerals and enzymes and phytonutrients that your muscles need. And that's where juice comes in. It is so rich in everything your body needs that you are going to build muscle and you are going to be able to work out like you haven't been able to before.
Now, what is the human routine that should be recommended? I mean, what kind of should should uh, should a normal person be eating before 7? Because there are studies that suggest that, and even testimonies that said that if you eat before 7, it'll be good for your body to able to digest and rest after 7. Why is it
7
7 o'clock?
p.m., 7 at
Yes,
night.
yes.
Yes, that is true. And it is best. Sometimes we have exceptions to the rule, but most of the time we can do that. And it is a good idea because if you're eating later than that and then going to bed with a full stomach, your digestion is not going to be as good. You're going to tend to put on more weight because you're not burning things up before you're going to rest. And of course, our metabolism slows way down at night. It starts slowing down after 8 p.m. So it's far better to eat before 7 p.m. Eat your dinner, your last meal of the day, and not to snack in the evening after dinner. That is what also puts on the weight, and it can interfere with sleep. And of course, we want a good night's sleep in order to be healthy. That's another very important component of good health is a good night's sleep. And we don't want to be tossing and turning with all that digestion going on in our bodies, trying to digest a big meal or snacks that we ate before bed. So I agree.
Now, you wrote a statement, an article actually, on your website about sleep and the problems that many people around the world are having with sleep. Because sleep, if we have lack of sleep, it actually also encourages our body to put on more weight. Is that proven?
It is, and there have been many studies on that from many universities in the US that have looked at sleep as being an extremely important component of weight maintenance or weight loss. They found that if you don't sleep well or you have a short night of sleep, the hormones that cause your appetite to increase go up, and the hormones that control your appetite go down. So then you end up wanting to eat all sorts of bad stuff. They found in their study, Harvard, looking at students that stayed up half the night to study, nobody craved, they said, a salad and broiled salmon. They all craved junk, pizza, chips, dips, cookies, ice cream, all of the burgers, all of the bad stuff. They wanted sweets and refined carb foods. And that has been proven in study after study. If you don't get a good night's sleep, you tend to crave carbohydrates, the stuff that really packs on the weight. So we want to get 7 or 8 hours. Some people even need 9 hours. We're all different. There isn't a one size fits all for sleep. Some people need less, but most people need 7 to 9 hours. And if you don't get that, you're in trouble as far as your appetite goes.
Amazing. What a revealing truth to sleep. Now, I have another question that is cancers. Is I have a reader who sends in this question and says, is there a recipe for prevention and cure for cancers?
Yes. Although I can't use the word cure, I'm not a doctor,
Mhm.
but I can tell you story after story. I've written the book, The Complete Cancer Cleanse. I've heard from many, many people from all over the world that have changed their diet, have started juicing, have followed the guidelines in our book, The Cancer Cleanse, Complete Cancer Cleanse, and are cancer free today. Because you know what? They gave their body the right materials that starve the cancer. We want to, cancer cells survive on sugars and acids. Those are the things, they're anaerobic, so they don't like oxygen. And that's what they survive on. If you start starving them, no sugars, and you start balancing your pH with a high alkaline diet like vegetables and vegetable juices, and then you get oxygen into your system, you are going to starve that cancer and give it an atmosphere it does not like and it can't grow in. And so that's where the wonderful juices come in, the vegetable juices and the dietary program that I recommend for people. And I have many stories of people that have had cancer throughout their body, given up, no hope, told, go home, get your affairs in order, you're not going to live. And here we are, 5, 10, 15 years later. Michael Mahaffey, who wrote the book with us, The
Hmm.
Complete Cancer Cleanse, leukemia, he died, left his body, and came back.
Ah,
22 years later, he's alive and well.
that's amazing. Now, I have another question for my fans right now, and they're sending a question, and that is, what is your favorite prevention cure juice that you can't live without every day?
Well, I make it, yes, every day I make this juice when I'm home. I start with a big cucumber, organic cucumber. I add 2 or 3 or 4 carrots, depending on their size, a lemon that I peel, a great big chunk, like about a 2-inch chunk of fresh ginger root. And I know that you'll like that because you use a lot of ginger in the Asian foods, and lots of green leaves. And I vary those leaves from what I want to get variety in my diet. So whatever happens to look like a good price and a beautiful selection that week is what I buy. From Swiss chard, kale, collard greens. Today I had kohlrabi leaves. The tops off kohlrabi. I put in radish leaves, spinach, parsley, green leaf lettuce, dark greens, whatever is dark green. But I want lots of those because those are where your nutrients really are. And I don't use hardly any fruit. I keep the sugar very low in my diet. I found that that works extremely well for me. There are some people who like to add a little apple to that because they want a little extra sweetness. I recommend green apple over the yellow or red because it's lower in sugar. So I keep saying that, keep your sugars low. Some people add a little pear. That's another lower sugar fruit. And that's my mix for my morning mix.
And so, do you have that once a day or twice a day? What's your routine like?
Usually twice a day. And then I usually make a juice before dinner as well.
Very nice. So, folks, you know her secret recipe, so you try it out and do get her book as well. And also, Cherie, also, there's another question we have also right now, and and the question is related to barbecue foods or foods that has been kind of like partially burned. The question is this: is it true that if people eat food that has some burned substance, does it actually contains cancerous particles? Is that true?
Yes, it is. There's a problem with the charring of that meat. And there have been scientific studies that have shown that that is cancer causing and can be. It's not like if you have once in a great while, you know, you've gone out to dinner or you've gone to somebody's house and they've served you something. One meal here and there probably is not going to cause cancer. But there are people who eat this way most of the time. They're barbecuing their meats all the time. That is a very bad thing because that charring of the meat creates byproduct that is carcinogenic.
Oh yes, we have that a lot here in Asia because barbecue is a big thing
Yes.
and a part of the diet as well. So, folks, please do take note. Do be moderate with barbecue foods. Now,
Yes.
another question is this. I have another one from my reader, and that is, where is the role for wine and alcohol?
Well, I don't touch it at all
Mhm,
myself. There are
mhm.
people who love to have a glass of wine or a beer. It's not health promoting. I can't find anywhere where it is. There have been studies on wine showing that it helps prevent heart disease, but you could do so much better with the fresh fruit than actually the wine. And alcohol does have its problems. It has been linked with cancer. And so I would say you need to be very moderate about that. If you're having wine, you want to make sure that it's organic because they spray grapes very heavily in most parts of the world, and those chemicals go right into the thin little skins of those grapes. And so you're drinking pesticides. Not a good idea. Um, so once in a great while, you could have a glass of organic wine, but it's not something that I recommend every day. I don't think it's a good idea. And it's not health promoting, it's not sleep promoting. It can actually interfere. Alcohol can interfere with your sleep. So something really to consider. What do you want most, your health or, or your glass of wine or beer?
Well said. Now, about another question, and that is someone just sent in to me and they said, uh, is there a recipe for dementia, depression, and diabetes? What's your take
Ah,
on that? Because,
dementia,
yes,
depression,
and
and
diabetes,
diabetes.
yes.
Yes, for all three, there is in my book, The Juice Lady's Guide to Juicing for Health. I have a chapter on depression, I have one on Alzheimer's and dementia, and I have a chapter on diabetes. And there is juice therapy, diet recommendations, nutrient recommendations, and lifestyle for all three. When it comes to dementia and Alzheimer's, if you do a cleansing, it's going to greatly help the brain, a detox program, because what's going to help your body is it's not going to leave out your brain.
Mm.
And we know that a lot of dementia and Alzheimer's is because of toxins in the brain, like aluminum and lead and cadmium and many other heavy metals and toxic things can build up in the neural pathways of the brain and really prevent good conduct of information in the brain. It short circuits. Everybody's had a short circuit from time to time. Can't remember something you want to say, but when it starts doing that all the time, that's really a bad thing. There have also been some studies showing that coconut oil is very helpful in reversing Alzheimer's. Dr. Mary Newport, a doctor down in Florida, her own husband had such terrible Alzheimer's at age 55 that he couldn't even draw a clock. That's one of the tests that they give Alzheimer's patients. She found a study on MCT oil. Well, medium chain triglycerides, or MCTs, are dominant in coconut oil. And she couldn't get into the study because the study was full. So she thought, okay, I'm going to do my own experiment. She found out how much MCT oil they were giving the people in the study, and she just bought coconut oil, started giving it to her husband, 7 teaspoons a day, and he is normal. The only thing that he has now is a gait, a walk, a step that's not quite normal. It was a permanent damage. Everything else is back to almost normal. She put coconut oil in his smoothies. Maybe the smoothies helped him as well, too. I'm also a proponent of green smoothies, so you could give that a try. And lots of vegetable juice, and doing my detox program. Get my book, Juicing, Fasting, and Detoxing for Life. It's got wonderful detox programs in there. When it comes to diabetes, I've had amazing results from people who followed the suggestions and recommendations in my chapter on diabetes in The Juice Lady's Guide to Juicing for Health. One of the things you can juice is green beans, string beans. They're very good for the pancreas. And if you start drinking vegetable juices and cut out the high carb foods, things that turn to starch and sugar fast, like rice will, it's not a good thing for people with diabetes. Any sweets are not good. And start eating more dark leafy green vegetables and follow my program. I think you can control it. It's not that you can say you don't have it, because if you start eating sweets again, your blood sugar would go out of whack again and it would come back. But you can control it, and why not? It's a wonderful way to eat. It's the way I eat. I don't eat sugars. And what other one did we have on the list besides dementia and diabetes and
Depression.
depression?
Yes.
And so for depression, also, I have a wonderful chapter. And you know what helps depression tremendously is to juice vegetables and to get raw foods in your diet and to get things that naturally raise your endorphins.
Mm.
Fennel is one vegetable. I don't know if you have it there. We have it in the
Oh,
US. You can
yes,
find it everywhere.
yes,
Do you have fennel?
yes, we do.
Fennel. Fennel is an ancient remedy, old remedy that they believed raised endorphins. And you want to raise your endorphins. And so fennel is a wonderful thing to incorporate. You also want to increase your brain neurotransmitters, your amino acids. You want a good complement of amino acids for the brain, and you want to get the sugars out of your diet. Sugars and chemicals, dyes, processed things can cause depression, actually, and sweets can. So you want to get all of that out of your diet. Follow the recommendations in my book for the Juice Lady's Guide to Juicing for Health in the chapter for depression.
Very good. And now, someone just sent me a question about cataract. How
Yeah.
how do we maintain a good eyesight, as good as as Abraham and and even Moses, because they was mentioned that they had great eyesight even
Yes.
in their rich old age.
Yes, and what we want are the foods that feed our eyes. And I know that it works. You want the carotenes that feed the eyes. They used to always say eat carrots for your eyes. Well, it's true because of the beta carotene. And so that's where juicing again is marvelous because it's broken down and your body can absorb those carotenes. And it's not just beta carotene, but alpha carotene. Zeaxanthin is another important one. We want to get all of those in the carotenoid family into our diet so it can feed our eyes and support good vision. Things that interfere with that, alcohol is one that can definitely interfere with that. Sweets, another thing that can interfere with that and contribute to poor eyesight. If you have cataracts already, you may have to do the laser surgery. I don't know, some people have been able to reverse that, but not everyone has. But you can prevent it for sure by following the instructions. I have it in a chapter in my book, Juicing for Health, the Juice Lady's Guide to Juicing for Health.
Very well. Now, we're going to move on to coconuts because you have a great chapter, in fact, a book on coconuts.
Yeah.
Here, in Asia especially, coconuts is one of the biggest diet and one of the main ingredients for all our foods. Now, why do you say that coconut is healthy when most doctors say that it's not healthy? That's one of the questions. And because coconuts have been used in curries, in sauces, even for our pastries, could you tell us why do you say that coconuts is good, and why do you say it's healthy, and how much can we take?
Coconut is excellent for the body, and it was political why it got bad press, as I call it, in the U.S. It got bad press for political, economic reasons, and because I'll just give you a quick background as to how we ended up there in World War II. The ships couldn't get through the waters to the U.S. with tropical oils, coconut oil and palm oil. And so the seed and vegetable oil industry picked up the slack and took over the market. And when the war ended, they weren't about to let go of that market. They had new market share and they wanted to keep coconut oil out of the U.S. And so they had to find a way to do that. Well, about the same time, heart disease was on the rise. It was on the rise for good reason. During the war, we had started using those vegetable and seed oils, safflower, sunflower, corn, soy, all of those oils that oxidize very easily and are damaging to the arteries. And when the artery is damaged with those wounds, then cholesterol will build up there. The body was designed to do that. cholesterol is designed to plug a wound. If you cut your arm, you want cholesterol to go there and begin to help in that healing process. Any wound, cholesterol is going to cover that wound and begin the healing process. Well, but you don't want that happening in your arteries because a mound of cholesterol and you could be dead. So anyway, back to what happened during the war was that all these seed oils and vegetable oils came on the market. People were cooking with those. They oxidize easily. They're damaging to the body. Then heart disease went on the rise. As soon as the war is over, they started looking at why people died of heart attacks and why it was on the rise. Autopsies revealed cholesterol in the arteries. So then they said, okay, cholesterol is the culprit. But cholesterol had never been the culprit. People had eaten for centuries eggs and cream and milk and animal foods and had never died of heart attacks. But what had they not done? They'd never had these vegetable and seed oils before, but nobody looked at that. So they simply said, okay, we must tell people not to have this cholesterol anymore. Don't eat it. And then they started looking at, well, cholesterol is a saturated fat, so we better tell them not to have any saturated fats. What else is a saturated fat? Coconut has saturated fat in it. Okay, we'll throw coconut into the mix, and we'll make it the bad guy too. But then the seed oil people said, and the vegetable oil people said, let's pick on coconut because it's our competitor. And prior to the war, there were big billboards here. I've got pictures of posters saying coconut oil is the healthiest oil on earth. Suddenly it's the deadliest oil on earth. And because they don't want to give up their market share, the seed and vegetable oil people. So then they started scaring people worldwide. Oh, coconut's bad. It's going to cause heart attacks. The opposite is true. It is not bad. It is healthy. It's a great oil to cook with. It has a high smoke point. It does not oxidize easily. It's known to be a slimming oil. The liver likes to burn it. It's good for the liver. It helps you lose weight, not gain weight. It is good to kill yeast. Scientific studies have proven that it kills off yeast like Candida albicans. And it's just all the way around a healthy oil, and coconut products are healthy products, and coconut milk is a wonderful, healthy milk to drink, or water, coconut water. And now it's catching on in the U.S., and everybody's selling coconut water, and coconut milk is for sale everywhere, and it's making a comeback. But there's still a lot of doctors who still adhere to the old, I call it brainwashing, really, that happened in the 50s and 60s, still saying it's bad because it's a saturated fat. Well, not all saturated fats are bad. In fact, what nobody hardly talks about is that there are two saturated fats around the heart. I only know them by their numerical numbers, C16 and C18, and the heart draws on those in times of stress. If you don't have enough of that in times of stress, it could be very hard on your heart, maybe a heart attack in the making. So,
Huh.
all of that said, it's
Wow.
healthy.
Now, yeah, that's good to know. And about arteries, those who have clogged arteries, do you recommend juices as well to for
Yes,
recovery?
I do. Juice is very, very helpful. There are people who have gone on diets. Many studies in the U.S. Dean Ornish has found a vegan diet to be very helpful if people have clogged arteries, and I would so agree. You maybe don't have to go on it for a lifetime, but the juices are extremely helpful. If you've had a heart attack because of mineral deficiencies, and there are people who do, there are as many people who have heart attacks with low cholesterol as with high cholesterol, and minerals can be a part of the cause, deficiency of minerals. So I highly recommend starting to juice. I have a chapter on cardiovascular health in my book, The Juice Lady's Guide to Juicing for Health, and it would be a wonderful thing to start following that program.
And speaking about following your program, there's one question someone had just sent to me. That's about genetic modified foods. Then that also includes juices and so on. Uh, Many have asked around the world, and including Asia, they're asking, are they harmful? Is there research that has proven so? And should we choose organic? How can we tell the difference between foods that are non-genetic and genetic? Are there signs and symptoms to it?
Genetic is very bad for us. There was a study done in India a number of years ago with some children where they started feeding them some genetically modified foods, also known as GMO foods and or GE foods, and they noticed such alarming changes in their blood chemistry that in 7 months they ended the study, just feeling that it was too bad a change to go forward. That's the only study I've found with people. There may be others, I just haven't found them. But we know that when you genetically engineer a food and you change its molecular structure or you change what's in that food, for example, slicing a pea gene with something else, or a peanut with a tomato, or an animal gene, a fish gene with some vegetable gene, you're not going to get good results, but we don't know exactly all of the ramifications of it. Years ago, when I was traveling so much, I spent a lot of time flying and a lot of time on planes and eating food on planes and in restaurants. I would go to my naturopath after a flight and my whole system would be messed up. She put me on, I called it an energy frequency machine to measure what was going on in my body, and sometimes the whole current of my body was heading in a wrong direction. And she said, I truly believe it's because you've eaten genetically engineered food out in these restaurants and on airplanes. And my health did suffer then. I wasn't as healthy as I am now because I make my own food now that's organic. On top of everything else, you can have something spliced into that food that you're allergic to and you don't even know it's there. So all of these things are of great concern. They have looked at genetically engineered foods with animals, and there have been very adverse effects on those animals. And I think we can say if it's happening with the animals, it would be happening with us. I don't recommend them at all. In the US, they refuse to label foods that are genetically engineered. So you have to look at what crops are most popular to be genetically engineered, and that's soy. Soybeans are probably a number one source of genetically engineered. About 80% of the soybean in this country is genetically engineered, so you only want to get organic. And our soybeans, I sad to say, go all over the world. So tofu and miso and soy sauce and the things that you love in your Asian culture, you have to be very careful because those are going to be genetically engineered. And textured vegetable protein that they like to put in a lot of boxed foods and energy bars and things like that are going to be soy-based. And if it's not organic, if it's not genetically engineered free, if it doesn't say that on the label, I would never buy it. Soy powder, soy ice cream, soy cheese, soy milk, stay away from all of that. It's just not a good idea. Corn is another big one that is genetically engineered a lot, and it's in so many things. Corn starch, you have to be so careful. It's gone into a lot of packaged and pre-made foods. And another one is canola oil, a big genetically engineered crop. Beet sugar now is becoming more genetically engineered. So we just have to read up on the top ones and only buy organic when it comes to those.
And now some say that how can they tell the difference between genetic and non-genetic vegetables and fruits?
Oh, I don't know if in your country they have those little UPC codes, little stickers, round stickers that they put on the fruits and vegetables. And I'm trying to go from memory. It's up on my website at juiceladyinfo.com. I think the number starts with 8, but I'm not positive. So you'll have to do your research as to what number those codes start with. Will they have to code genetically engineered food for those little round stickers? So do your research on that, but that is one way that you can begin to detect, because the codes will indicate organic, genetically engineered, and so forth, and you can find out by a code
Now,
what.
in your juices that people drink, and you mentioned so much about, could you elaborate the importance of water? Because I know that all these wonderful fruits and vegetables contain water, and why water is so important.
We are mostly water. Our body's 70 to 75% water, and we need water, and we need lots of it. We need pure water, not contaminated water with chemicals like fluoride and chlorine and all of the other stuff that ends up in our water. And we need 8 to 10 glasses of pure water a day. So it is very, very important to drink lots of water. You've seen me drinking water during this interview. I'm a big water drinker in addition to my juices. And all water is not equal, although we may think it is. So we want water that's pure and not contaminated with a lot of chemicals.
And some say that we are accustomed to alkaline water. Is that true?
Yes, yes, our bodies should be pH balanced, a little on the alkaline side. We tend to be a little on the acid side. I love alkaline water, and you can get water machines that alkalize your water. And I noticed a difference when I drink alkaline water versus
Wow,
non-alkaline.
wow. And how long did that take you to realize that?
It took me a while. I people came to my house and demonstrated alkaline water machines, and I was very skeptical. But then I noticed that as I drank several glasses in the evening and other people did, people seemed to have more energy and happier, and I couldn't get them to go home, and they wanted to stay and talk. And I thought, something's going on here. Speaking of that, I'm going to have some water.
Not a problem. Uh, Now, another question that is for you is that the people of faith community, and that's the Christian faith, uh, they like to ask you, could you shed some light on the Christian perspective on foods?
Yes, I would love to. There's so much to say about food and its importance in our health, our healing, and our wholeness. We are dying today all over the world because of what we eat. I say often we're digging our graves with our teeth. We're chewing away our health because we're eating man-made foods, foods that have been changed, their molecular structure changed, the nutrients, the life of the food destroyed, additives, sugars, all of this stuff added to our food that our body can't handle, and we're sick. And people are often praying for a miracle in their health and healing, and I hear from them every day of my life. Now, they go to my website, they email me, I'm constantly hearing about how sick people are. And my message to them all the time is that you've got to do your part in the healing process, in your part in getting well. God has provided for us our healing because of what Christ did for us. We have that provision, but we've got to do our part. And I have a video up on my website under videos where it's a dramatization and an reenactment of a vision I had of Christians as soldiers lying on the battlefield with their armor askew. They were not able to do their part in standing up and fighting the good fight of faith, is what Scripture says. Written across their bodies were labels: cancer, heart disease, diabetes, chronic fatigue syndrome, Lyme's disease, fibromyalgia, headaches, on it went. And they were sick because of their lifestyle. And I heard God say, go to my people and tell them that part of the answer to their prayer lies within their own hands, the food they prepare. the food they eat. We must eat organic food, whole food, clean food, and avoid all of this bad fast food, packaged food, junk food, food with chemicals in it, genetically engineered food. And we need an abundance of the good food today because our world is more toxic, and that's where juicing comes in and is so important.
Now, I have a question that's just come in, and that is, what is the future of foods?
The future of food.
Yes. What's your take on that?
The future of food. Well, it should be ancient. The future should look back, not forward, to what other crazy thing we can spin out of a factory. Always there's the latest and greatest new bottled drink, packaged food, bar, something in a box, all of that scary stuff. The future of food, if we are to have a future as a civilization, must look to ancient history. Real food, whole food, non-engineered food, organic food, the food God gave us. The seed that we're told in the Old Testament, do not tamper with the seed. And we're doing that. We're tampering with it. We're mixing it, splicing it, hybridizing it, changing it to be sweeter or more gluten for fluffier and fluffier bread. On and on it goes. We're changing everything so that people can make more money selling us this stuff. If we're to have any future with our food, we must look back to ancient farming practices, to organic foods, to the food that God gave us, which is the fuel for our bodies. That's our manual, is way back there in ancient times. That's our manual for health and life.
And is it true that right now in the United States, people are experiencing more and more uh, need to have uh, organic foods be served in restaurants, and there are more cafes and restaurants are opening up to serve organic and fresh food.
Yes, there's becoming a demand. Americans are waking up to the fact that this stuff, this sprayed stuff with pesticides and engineered and meats pumped full of hormones and antibiotics are not doing anything for their health except tearing it down. And so more and more people are demanding that they have organic foods. And so that market is really growing today. And you see it in restaurants and juice bars springing up all over. And more chefs are choosing organic foods because they found the flavor is better.
Now, what's next for you? Do you have any plans to open up a juice bar or cafe or restaurant as such? Will anyone see that in the near future?
I can see it. I would love it. Somebody else needs to do it, and I'll work with them and put my name on it. If you go to my website, I've got Sherry's Juice Bar and Cafe. I've got a green and white awning. At the bottom of the homepage, you click on that, and you'll get served up all sorts of recipes. But I would love to see that, because I would love to see a juice bar where there's really true, dependable organic food. Everything's fresh and good and dependable. You can go there and know you're going to get the very best.
And do you think that you will be coming by to Asia sometime in the near future?
Don't I wish? I haven't been to your part of the world. I would love to come. And you never know. There may be a day where something will take me there.
Yes, and we look forward to that. Now, before we go, what would be your three key advice for authors, I mean, especially young authors who are pursuing to write books on health and the way you do? I know that you started out writing and writing as far back as probably tw for the last 20 years, if I take if
Yes.
I
Yes,
if I
last 20 years.
so what's your secret behind in writing great health books? Could you give us
Oh,
three key advice?
well, I hear all the time from people why they like my books. They're easy to read, they tell me, and easy to access information. So I use a lot of bullet points and things where people can skim through and find information if they don't want to read the whole thing, like bold headings for bullet points, and I try to organize the material to be very easy for people to find what they're looking for. And then I think the third thing would be write about what people are very interested in. That's what I try to do all the time. Find what they're most interested in. And I found it. I found my niche. They want juice. And so, but you can find your niche. And everybody that has been successful has found their niche.
And speaking about finding your future and your destiny, do you believe in the word destiny?
Oh, I do. Absolutely. And I feel that I'm living my destiny now every day of my life for the last 20 years. Since I graduated, well, and I started writing, in fact, before I graduated and doing seminars before I'd even graduated. And I knew that this was my destiny. And
Wow.
we each have one. We each have a purpose, a destiny, why we're here, and we just need to find it.
So what will be your next book right now? Are you pursuing writing your next book?
Well, I'm thinking about it, and people are asking me for a very practical guide because they don't know what to eat with their juice. And they know
Ah,
they got to
okay.
eat something, and they want a menu plan and ideas and more recipes and what do I eat with my juice, and a lot of other very practical things around that, like shopping guides and so forth. So that's probably my next book coming up.
Well, we look forward for your next book, and perhaps maybe the National Critics' Choice also could give you some suggestions for Asian cuisine to pair up with your juices too.
That would be
Yeah.
lovely. I
Yeah.
love Asian cuisine.
And now, if you do come to Asia, or perhaps you already are in Asia, in the United States, what will be the one Asian cuisine that you look forward to? Let's say if you happen to be in San Francisco or you're in Chinatown in any part of United States, what will be the one cuisine that you look forward to?
Oh, I love Thai food and I love curry.
Really?
So yes, I might look for that.
Great. Well, once again, no, Miss Cherie Calbom, thank you for joining us here at the National Critics' Choice, the Steinberg Review, and we look forward seeing you again very soon.
Thank you, Robin.